Every year at the start of Lent, the 40 days leading us to Easter, the faithful are reminded how fleeting life is, with the somber reminder from Genesis that from dust we come and to dust we shall return. The palm branches from last year's Palm Sunday celebration are burnt to make the ashes for Ash Wednesday, a time to turn back to God. I always found it a bit curious that we are reminded of our own mortality when the season of rebirth is awakening all around us. The choir of birds are rehearsing once again their songs of praise, and soon the tree frogs will join in their joyful refrain. While I am waiting for my springtime friends, the daffodils and crocus, to greet me once again from the still frozen ground, I know that in time they will. For in time is a statement of faith, a belief in the beauty of things still unseen that in time God will reveal. Until that in time is fully revealed, I must journey through these days with eyes of faith, seeing beyond the lifeless valleys. For soon the snow will turn to mud, and that mud will turn to green grass, and that green grass will sway in the wind, whispering to me, "Your in time is now. Treasure it always." I don't need the promise of endless tomorrows, or the sweet memories of all my yesteryears. What I ask of this day, of this most precious of days, is to be present to you, God, in all of my ways.
Well, welcome, my friends, to the start of Lent here at Old Stonewall Farm. I will admit that I never grew up with the tradition of having ashes for Ash Wednesday. But over the years, I have come to appreciate the tradition of burning the palms from last year's Palm Sunday celebration and then using those ashes to mark the forehead, or I do my hand with a cross, as a reminder that from dust we come and to dust we shall return. Even as a pastor holding Ash Wednesday services throughout the years, the services were very low attended. And I've always wondered if that was because it was something that we just didn't grow up with in the Protestant tradition, or perhaps I think it is more of the fact that it brings us to the reality of our own mortality. And I think that we're a society where we don't like to think about death. We don't like to think about that our time is limited here. I bring this to you because I almost came face to face with my own mortality. My last few visits with you, there was one where I talked about being in the winter of my life, and I did get a lot of feedback from people saying, "You're still young, you're not in the winter of your life." But at that moment that I was sharing that with you, I felt like my time was limited, because I found a lump that was on my rib. And I tried to take a deep breath and just focus on the work that I had to get done. Now, many of you know I am scared to death of doctors. So this time around, when I discovered the lump, I didn't run to the doctor. I instead allowed my fear to take hold of me. I just worried, and I was praying. And I don't know, it sounds so silly. Like, if you find something like that, go to the doctor right away. Get it looked at. It's not going to go away. But for me, and I will be honest with you, I just wanted to run and hide. And so I spent a couple of weeks worrying and crying. And I know it's all needless worry. I did it to myself. but I just wasn't ready to face the what next. I wasn't ready to face whatever it might have been. I just wasn't ready to say goodbye to a life that I knew. And that's really stupid on my part. I could say that. It's, for anyone else, I totally understand. But for me, I felt really foolish that I didn't take action right away. And I allowed my fear to take hold of me. And so as Ash Wednesday has come and the faithful pause and remember that from dust we come, to dust we shall return, we come face to face with our own time limits, and we remember that eventually someday we will return to God. I come to you to share with you that everything is okay. I did finally go to the doctor, and it just turns out to be a fatty tumor. They did remove it. And I was relieved, but it really impacted me to the point where I now wake up in the morning questioning everything that I'm doing, wondering if I'm really living my life the way I want to live it. Then I realized when I looked back on older videos, I've been saying the same thing for at least 3 years now, especially when it comes to entering the season of Lent, when we are invited to take that 40-day wilderness journey to get to Easter, to surrender everything and to really live in the desolation and the challenges and the darkness, and to know that God is with us even in our trials, even when we are thirsting, when we are hungry, when we are worried, when we are out in the desert loneliness, that there will be angels to tend to us like they were for Jesus. So for the past 3 years, my Lenten message, I realize for all of you, has been me telling you that I need to surrender and I need to really live the life that God wants for me. And perhaps I need to let go of some things that I treasure, or I need to slow down and I need to not take on so much. And that realization that I have been saying that I want to live a different way, a simpler way, one that glorifies God, one that is no longer stressing me out. I've been saying this for 3 years now. So I couldn't come to you at the start of the Lenten season here at Old Stonewall Farm, once again saying to you, I am looking forward to the wilderness, to just surrender to God and then emerge from the 40-day experience with a new insight and a new calling and a new me that is more relaxed, that is more trusting. I've been saying this for 3 years. And so I can't say that message to you anymore, because there's one thing to talk about it, but when you're not actually taking steps to change your life or do something that you know you should do, then that's a reality check. Enough talking. This is the year I really do need to take action to change my life. I don't know what that life is going to look like, but all I know is that when I found that lump and I was scared that I might not have more time to change and get that life that I've been talking about, I realized, wow, what have I been doing? Where did the time go? Why am I wasting any of the precious moments that we have? I don't know, as I sit here now, I wonder about these 40 days that we're entering into. I would like to say to you once again, it's a time of wilderness. Let us enter into it and surrender to God. But it's a message I've been saying to you for the past couple of years during our time in this season here at the farm. and I don't practice what I preach. So what am I going to do this year? I'm not sure. Maybe the first step is the reality that I'm all talk and I need to start walking the walk. Maybe that's the first step I need to take. But as we enter into Lent with the start of remembering that we don't have the promise of tomorrow, that has taken on a new dimension for me this year. It's become more of a reality that has awakened me. They always say that it takes something in life to awaken us to change. They say that it often takes an illness or the scare of a lump on the side of your rib to shake us up, to wake us up. I wish it wasn't that way. I wish that we could just awaken to the God possibilities without the struggle and the fear and the sadness and the difficulties. But it doesn't seem to happen that way. And maybe that's why we do need 40 days of the wilderness to enter into the struggles and trials and the fear and the sickness and the illness, so that we can remember how great God is. For Paul himself wrote in his suffering and affliction, it was okay, because when I am weak, God is strong, and reminds us that in my weakness, my strong, loving God is holding me. So I carried the scare of the lump on my rib for a few weeks, struggling to work, to focus, to bring you videos. And then when I finally went to the doctor and found out that everything was going to be all right, I came home and I cried. I cried tears of joy and relief. Then I realized I need to change. A few months ago, I shared with you my early attempt at poetry writing when I was a girl. Well, on my journey of trying to find the courage to go to the doctor, I went to the place where I picked out for the location of my prayer chapel. And there was a big tree that fell on the ground, and I sat on that tree stump in the snow, and I just looked up at the sky, and I prayed to God for this to pass. I also prayed to God for the courage to go to the doctor and face whatever it was I needed to face. I also apologized to God for my lack of faith. But I turned my eyes to the hills from where our help comes, as the psalmist tells us. And I prayed for help, and turned out okay. But there will come a time when perhaps it won't be okay. And when that time comes, I hope I have not only courage and strength, but I hope I have grace. Grace to smile when the storms are raging. Grace to trust in my wilderness trials that there will always be angels around to tend to me when I need tending the most. So the poem that started to come to me, I'm still working on it. But as I sat on that tree stump in the snow, praying to God and carrying the unnecessary worry that I insisted on carrying without surrendering to God's great loving hands, these words began to fill my heart. I don't need the promise of endless tomorrows or the sweet memories of all my yesteryears. What I ask of this day, this most precious of days, is to be present to you in all of my ways. My friends, may you be present to God in the season of Lent in all ways. And I pray that this time together, our visit, finds you in great health. And if you are struggling with any health challenges, or perhaps you too have a health scare that you are just carrying with you, a burden of fear that is weighing you down, please know I'm praying for you and you are not alone. Know that even though our time here is limited, what we have is this moment to make the most of it, to find the joy and the peace and the goodness. It is a moment right now to glorify God and to thank God for what we have right now. So, from dust we come, to dust we shall return. And that's okay. For God does bring new life out of the ashes. And there's always hope. May these 40 days of Lent be a journey for you as well. To trust even more, to love even more, to smile each and every day, even in the storms. Always thinking of you all. And if you have a prayer request, just comment and reach out to me, for we are a community here for one another here at Old Stonewall Farm. And for that, I am grateful for as well. Until next time, God bless.